Hello, welcome to our channel. If you like this video or this channel, please remember to subscribe our channel and like the videos. Today we are going to talk about the 10 best practices to correct your bad learning languages habits. Have you thought about taking Mandarin lessons or learning English language? Before you learn any languages, you must build up a good learning habit. Bad learning languages habits is the stumbling block when you decided to learn languages. Learning a language effectively need techniques. There are many cases showing us bad language learning habits can make our language learning journey difficult. If you have been studying but your level has not improved as expected, it is very likely because of poor study habits. Today, in this article, I will give you some solutions to the common bad habits when learning a language. 1. No goal or target. Setting a goal when learning languages. The first bad habits people make when learning a new language is not setting a target or goal. Honestly, doing something without a goal is pointless. Why? Because a goal can help you measure progress and performance you are making when you are learning things. Being able to keep track of your progress toward achieving a goal is only possible if you set one in the first place. Once your first goal is achieved, then you will have a sense of achievement. It will make you more confident and happy to go to the next step. Therefore, when my students taking Mandarin classes, I always encourage them to take the HSK exams to evaluate how good their study goes. The mark is not so important to most students, but the action values a lot. Only when we set a proper goal, you know how long you have taken the journey and how long you still need to take to the next destination. 2. Focus too much on grammar. Learning English grammar. Is learning grammar important? Yes and no. Correct grammar makes the sentences perfect, but it is not essential when in reality, context on the other hand seems more important compared to perfect grammar. So if you are beginner in learning a language, the focus should not be on the grammar. You should instead putting more effort on learning more vocabularies and writing more. If you practice imitating words and expressions you hear from native speakers, you will become proficient in writing and speaking in the new language. To do this, you don't need to learn grammar. Grammar only spells out the rules you learn by listening. Be careful. I am not saying grammar is not important at all. Of course, grammar is important once you get to intermediate level or advanced level. Grammar is an important factor to advance your language learning. But at the beginner, you don't have to focus too much on grammar, since it will reduce the interest in learning. As we know, learning grammar can be boring. 3. Always make careless mistakes. Checking homework. When learning a language, especially when Chinese people are learning English, they make careless mistakes. English is not a difficult language to learn for a lot of people, but for Chinese people, because English grammar seems quite difficult for them, therefore, they make grammatically mistakes everywhere. To avoid making grammatical mistakes for most of the people, when they learn a new language, I would suggest them to write down the sentences before they start to speak it. The reason is when you write something down, it takes more time for you to think the grammar and the logic. You will make less mistakes than just saying something without thinking. After finishing writing sentences, students should check carefully by themselves. Develop a good habit of checking is also important to language learners. This will enable students to form the habit of consciously checking after finishing the question. In addition, guide your children to remind themselves to check. Tell them, I have to supervise myself to check. I can help my children are good children. I like good children who do things seriously. 4. Learning without pressure. Learning without pressure. Language learning is fun but not under pressure. If you are learning a language only for passing the exams, then learning become meaningless. We encourage students to learn languages without pressure. The student's study burden is already heavy, and the expectations of teachers and parents can aggravate students' psychology problem. If students take their exam results seriously, they will undoubtedly be putting pressure on themselves, and they will inevitably be overwhelmed and become exhausted, nervous and anxious, there is a rare moment of peace of mind. Therefore, you need to learn to relax yourself and don't take exam results too seriously. We suggest you can sit comfortably in a chair or lie down in bed and send rest messages to all parts of your body. Start with the left foot, tighten the leg muscles, then relax, while suggesting it to rest. Then, from the right foot to the torso, from the left and right hands to the torso, then from the torso to the neck, head, face. 5. Too many distractions. I have seen plenty of students learning different things or doing different things while learning the language. Doing too many things will cause a lot of distractions for the students and make the learning outcome not as good as expected. We should focus when we learn one thing. Distractions definitely have a negative influence on study time and quality of learning. In this case, students must understand they need to eliminate all forms of distraction immediately before or when they learn a new language. They should turn off including mobile devices, television and computers when trying to focus on studying. Also, students should make every effort to study in a quiet environment that minimizes distractions. Study environment is a very important factor for whom want to be successful in learning. 6. No habit to read books. If you want to learn more vocabularies and make your speaking more profound, you should definitely read more books. Apart from school learning materials, we can set a goal to read a book in a month. When we read, we will accumulate more vocabularies. We will see beautiful sentence patterns. It will greatly help us when we are learning a new language. Reading is good for you because it improves your focus, memory, empathy, and communication skills. It can reduce stress, improve your mental health. There are so many reasons why reading books can help you to learn a language. 7. Only listening but not speaking. Listening to music, story or news is much easier than speaking out with friends or teachers. But if you want to improve your language proficiency, you need to speak more. Speaking to people is a great way to improve your language ability. From speaking, you will immediately get to know how long you can carry the conversation. Speaking to the public makes you understand your current language level, your vocabulary's limit and get to know how to express yourself confidently. Therefore, we suggest listening and speaking at the same time. A good balance of listening and speaking is essential for effective language learning. 8. Lack of self-studying. We should know that only taking language lessons are not enough for us to get to a good level. Self-studying during our free time becomes very important. The so-called self-study is to learn according to one's own method, to find out the problem by oneself. It allows us to check the answer by oneself. One should find out the mistake and correct it by oneself. For example, many of my students who are learning Chinese language, they practice Chinese characters at home by themselves. To cultivate a sense of responsibility for self-study, on the one hand, they can manage their own learning situation. Also, on the other hand, they can identify the learning content and adjust their own learning rhythm. Self-study can learn at your own pace and improve efficiency. 9. Too much reading instead of writing. Writing diary is important. Some students asked me, if I read news or books regularly, is that the best way to learn a language? Reading is definitely good for your language learning process, but writing is even more important. We highly recommend our students to read diary if possible weekly or bi-weekly. There are many advantages for writing diary regularly. For example, it will help you learn more vocabularies. When you are writing, you will find out how smooth you can express your ideas or feelings. You can try to use different vocabularies. This will definitely help you to express yourself in the future in daily conversation. Not only it will good for your speaking skills, but also writing diary is good for your grammar improvement. If you found speaking is hard to make grammar perfect, then the first step to do is write it perfectly, because you will have enough time doing the writing. 10. Doesn't like to take exams. Exam is good for language learning. Who likes to take exams? Maybe nobody, but honestly, exams are good for you if you don't take it too seriously. People don't want to take exams because they give them pressure, but please don't overreact. Exam is a tool to develop an individual, give values, extraordinary thinking, self-assessment, overcome failures, filling them with positivist to improve the quality of education. Exams can also help teachers to evaluate the progress of the students and to rectify their shortcomings. My students, I suggest them to take HSK exams to evaluate their performance in my Mandarin classes. Some of them get 70% or 80% in the exam results. They are satisfied. We don't need to get a perfect result. The only reason we take exam is to know how far we have gone, and how far we still need to go. No pressure. In conclusion, we should always encourage our students to have good learning habits and correct their bad ones. The above 10 bad habits are the most common ones students should pay attention to. Once you have good learning habits, you will find learning languages is not as difficult as you thought at the beginning.